Hey, everybody, I'm super excited to have you join me in this very special episode of Made for More, where we are exploring the you beyond the box. This episode is very special, not only because we're talking about Mother's Day, but also because I get to have my very own big sister join me as we talk about our journey in the loss of our mother, as well as the legacy that she has instilled in both of us, as well as our brother. Join us for this special conversation premiering May 10th. Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Made for More, where we are exploring the you beyond the box. I'm super excited about this episode as we are talking about Mother's Day. And of course, I have my very own big sister to join me as we talk about the loss as well as the legacy that our mother has passed down to us. So I want to say welcome.
Well, thank you for having me on your platform.
Of course, of course, of course. And I'm super excited about our conversation that we're going to get into today. And as we're just jumping right in, tell me a little bit about what mom was like when you were younger.
Yeah, I mean, because we obviously are just a few years apart. We're
Yes.
probably, well, we're what, 5 years
5.
apart.
Mhm.
And so, I can remember like it was yesterday when mom was pregnant with you and we would go to like her doctor's appointments and see the ultrasound and but mom was like, she was very, just a very joyful type of person,
Mm. Mhm.
put together. I remember vividly, like mom, she had planned a picnic for us. It
Mhm.
was just me and Marcel, and like she had all the food ready and had the blanket ready and everything. We were gonna have a picnic outside under the tree that was in front of our house. And I remember that day that it had rained. And I was just like super sad about it because, this was like my first picnic with my mom. And, she said that, you know what, we're still going to have a picnic. And
Mm.
she had the picnic in the house, in the
Mm.
living room, on the floor. And she had, the cover laid out on the floor and the food on the blanket. And, I think we colored. I can't remember what exactly we did, but I believe we colored or we played a game.
Mm.
And so, mom, I remember her, before you were born, like she was just, um, she obviously was still growing and developing, but she was just someone who just loved to have fun,
Mhm.
loved to color. I mean, she was a phenomenal colorer.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
remembered like times just watching her color, and I wanted to color just like her.
Mhm.
She was very detailed in that and just loved to play games, loved to have
Mhm.
fun.
Mhm.
And so that's what I remember about her.
I would definitely agree. Mom was really big on games, spending time with people, especially her children.
Hmm.
And one memory for me would be a time where a few of my friends, we were outside double dutching, and she just so happened to come outside, and I'm thinking she's going to turn the rope,
Hmm.
but my mom ended up double dutching with us. And so that was her thing when the kids came to the house. Um, and I'm telling you, it would be quite a few kids over at the house, and we would be outside either double dutching or playing hopscotch, listen, or
Kickball,
kickball with our
softball.
mom. Like,
Hmm.
she loved to have fun. She loved to gather people. And that's another thing that I feel like we both can, just like talk about when it comes to like mom overall, like just how she was with people. She loved to gather people. She loved to bring people together, whether it was over food or whether it was for ministry. She definitely loved to do that. Tell me something that you remember, like in specific, like the different types of gatherings that she used to do.
Oh wow, mom used to have all kinds of gatherings. Like
Yeah.
When there would be like a guest minister and his wife coming into town, mom made it her business to cook for that
Absolutely.
family, prepare. I mean, she would have the table set, and that was one thing about her. She had her
Yes.
table decorated. She had, her foods laid out on the table. Like she was an individual who brought people together.
Mm-hmm.
And she absolutely loved doing it, loved being a host.
Mm-hmm.
She loved hosting pastors and their wives, and just providing a space
Mm-hmm.
for them to come and just eat and fellowship with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in the day, a lot of people didn't really either go out to eat or could not afford to go out to
Right.
eat. And so she made it just she made it her place to provide a space for people to come and eat, and she
Mm-hmm.
loved doing that. And that was one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I truly enjoyed about mom and what
Mm-hmm.
she would do for other ministers and just people. I mean, she even did that with LU students,
Oh
because she
yeah.
used to work at Lincoln, and so she would adopt a couple of students, and they would
Yes.
come over and they would, eat dinner. And
Yes.
I remember there were a couple of times where I was like, they coming in and they eating our food. We
Right.
ain't gonna have leftovers,
Right.
but
Right.
it was just always a great time. And mom, she, in that way, she made sure that we were around
Mm-hmm.
individuals, whether it been ministers or students, but
Absolutely.
around individuals that really helped our character, develop our character, and
Absolutely.
also helped us to see what our future could look like. We could
Yeah.
be one day a college student or a minister.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kept us around in those spaces
Yeah.
to help us in
Mm-hmm.
the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree because we shared our mom with a lot of college students.
Hmm.
So, a lot of people know our mom, or have known of our mother. And even still till this day, there are people that come up to us and, just I had somebody last week that said, "You look just like your mom." And
Hmm.
so just being able to, even though she's no longer here, she's still here within us,
Hmm.
and people are able to see that. And so I absolutely agree with her ability to actually draw people in different ways, whether it's cooking, whether it's providing, hospitality, or, just anything, putting on services. And that's something that I definitely believe that she instilled in all three of us,
Hmm.
because we all love to serve. We all love to pour into people or help people, or,
Or even
even
create. Like she's
create.
just
Yeah.
has a very creative
Hmm.
mind. Most of her creativity came when it was like setting her table,
Yes.
when it was putting on different
Listen.
programs and things like that. Like she loved to just keep her hands in something and just being busy,
Hmm.
because she loved to draw people and bring people together. And it
Yes.
never really was about people being drawn to her, but it was more of drawing people together to fellowship, and just
Absolutely.
drawing people together for the uplifting of Christ. So,
Absolutely. I was just going to say that, like, drawing people to Christ, the Christ that lived in her and
hmm.
lives in us, and I really feel like that's what it's all about. And that's one thing that I can say that I really got or gleaned from her. And
Hmm.
that was going to be my next question. What is one thing you feel like you took from mom, or like you realized, like, okay, this is something that mom would do, or this is something she would say?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that I probably have taken from her. Um, as we've said, we all have that creativity in us, whether
Hmm.
it be photography like Marcel and doing videos and things like that, whether it be like our podcast,
Hmm.
mom was on the radio, and so for us to be doing something like this,
Hmm.
it would be definitely down, mom's street.
Yes.
The other thing is, you know, I've gotten to a place where I too kind of like to host people, like people to come over,
Yeah.
and then also another thing that I've taken from her is just being silent in
Mm-hmm.
certain situations, you know.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've noticed growing up is that mom would not always speak on certain issues or
Yes.
certain things that were happening. But she would just, you know, she would pray or she would just be silent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, growing up, I always felt like maybe I need to put my 2 cents in. But as I
Mm-hmm.
get older, it's just like, you don't just be silent. You don't
Absolutely.
have to have a response for everything, you
Absolutely.
know? And so, those are some of the things that I think that I've kind of taken from her.
And I think that you are so right about that, like understanding the power of your voice, knowing when to speak and knowing when not to. And I think that's one thing that
Hmm.
she did teach us and
Hmm.
leave with us in so many different life lessons as we grew up with her. And so, for me, also going back to what you said, the creativity aspect, I think
Hmm.
all of us, all three of us, we got that creative genius from her because she would have an idea and she would just get to work in creating it. You know, whether
Hmm.
that was sewing, you know, she did hair, she did, you
Yeah.
know, all types of things. You know, she was on the radio. And I feel like, you know, in some way, we are carrying out her legacy in what we do. A lot of people see, you know, the things that we have accomplished or that we are accomplishing, and they're like, wow, like, you know, you guys are great or you're good at this. And I'm like, have you met our mama? Like, you know, because she was really good at what she did, whatever she put her hand to, whatever
Hmm.
she put her heart to, she was really, really good at it. The other question that I wanted to ask in this regard is, what is one thing that you feel um, is most impactful about the relationship? So, I'm asking two questions. I'm trying to get the questions right in my mind. Hold on. So, what is one thing that you feel is most impactful as it pertains to mothering as a mother? What is one aspect of motherhood that mom taught you that you would teach your children?
Ooh, there was a lot of I mean, there's a lot of lessons I think that I've learned from mom. But one thing is, I remember growing up and mom didn't always have like a lot of people stay in our home. And you know, now being older, I understand that because your home is like that is your safe space. Like your home is your sanctuary. Your
Mm-hmm.
home is your place where you can relax and
Mm-hmm.
you can, you know, just be at
Be,
peace, you know what I
yes.
mean? And so sometimes having so many people around you, um, you can't do that, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so you know, our mom, growing up, she didn't allow like a lot of people. Now, granted, we did have people stay here and
Yeah.
there, you know, but she did, it wasn't like an ongoing thing. And I believe she did that because she understood that your home is your place of peace and
Mm-hmm.
safety and where you can be calm and you can just relax
Mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of one thing that I've kind of taken on from her. And I believe that my children, you know, they'll as they get their own places and you know they'll probably be the same way as well. I mean, there's so many different things that I probably can say that I've taken from her. You know, one thing she would always say as well, she's if nothing else in your house isn't clean, make sure that
Make
your
sure the
front
front
room and
room,
your
bathroom.
bathroom is clean, you know, because you don't want people to come over and your home is looking you know, a hot mess, you know. And so, you know, mom, she would get on us and make sure like, make sure my living room is clean, make sure my kitchen is
Hmm.
clean, you know.
Saturday
And then the
mornings cleaning.
yeah, and then the other thing is taking care of your things. Like I remember
Absolutely.
vacuuming and mom, we hit the leg of the table or something like that. And mom would holler from the other room, y'all better not be hitting that leg of that
Listen,
table, you
like
know.
how can you see
How
it?
can
Like,
you
how
hear
did you
it?
know?
Like, you know, and then the other thing was like dusting.
Oh my God.
Like they would do dust checks like we were in the army, you know.
Like literally,
But
like taking out all the dishes to wash them. Like, what type of
hmm
treatment
But yeah,
is
just
this?
learning to take care of your stuff
Yeah.
because it costs you money, and things aren't cheap. And so,
Hmm.
you know, if you take care of your stuff, you take care of the things that are in your home and take care of your home, it'll last longer. You'll feel better also when you
Absolutely.
take care of your home.
You
So,
know, and I want to add to that one other thing that mom taught us is also learning how to take care of ourselves as
hmm
women, like having we have so many different things that are going on. And I'm, guilty of this. There's some days where, you block out self-care. You're so busy focusing on kids or your husband or your, work or all of these different things, but just being able to have that time of slowing down, taking care
hmm
of yourself, whether that's physically, because one thing about our mom was she knew how to dress.
hmm
That baby could put on, do you hear
Put
me?
on a
Church
hat,
hat.
put on a
Oh,
suit, honey.
yeah. There was no,
She was
listen,
dressed from head to
head
toe,
to
honey.
toe.
hmm
Everything was just like to perfection. Like she just, and not saying she was perfect, but just it was just
hmm
beautiful. Like, and so her, teaching us that level of importance for ourselves that we're not necessarily putting on for other people, we're putting on for ourselves because just as you said, when you take care of yourself, you
hmm
feel good, and
hmm
I believe that our mom felt great, apart from the compliments that she would get from all of her hats and her
hmm
suits and, just all of the beautiful jewels that she had and she wore. But she prided herself as being, a woman of class and a woman of honor. And just making sure that not only was her house taken care of, but also she was taken care of and her children were taken care of. So,
And the other thing about, with to add to taking care of yourself, even though she's dressed from head to toe, but also taking care of the inward
yes,
person.
yes, yes.
There would be times where we could walk into her room and we want to say something or talk about something,
Hmm.
and mom be like, "Hold on, give me a
Mm-mm. Give
minute."
me a minute. Yep.
And that minute, that time could have been because she just got off work
Yes.
or she just needed a moment.
She
And
needed a
sometimes you just
moment.
need a moment,
Moment. Yeah.
to mentally um prepare yourself or mentally um prepare for the next chapter in that
Absolutely.
day. When
Absolutely.
we think of chapters, we think of chapters in your life, but there's also chapters in your
Several
day,
chapters.
chapters in your
Hmm.
hours. We have to go to work, we have to come home, we have to take care of the family, and all the other things that you have to take care of within your household. And so there would be moments where mom would be just like, give me a minute,
Hmm.
and so just I learned that as well. Like, take time for you to just
Hmm.
decompress, like
Decompress.
to give yourself a moment in order to move into what you have to do next. So,
And that's so good because as women, and this is even for mothers, I'm not a mother yet, but I do believe that I will be one day. And so this is something I'm learning for myself is you are no good to anybody if you're not good to yourself first.
hmm
And so you should always be your first priority because if you're sick or if you're not okay, then every other obligation is at risk of not being okay. So
yeah.
as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, it's okay to take a moment,
hmm
And so I feel like all of us could take that that
we
little
can take
nugget from our
that.
mama from,
hmm
take a moment to breathe, take a moment to be, take a moment to rest, whatever it looks like. Take your moment for you.
Yeah, self-care is not selfishness.
Ooh, so good.
So
So
you got to
good.
be able to care for you, like you said,
Yes.
so that you can be good enough to care for somebody else. It does not
Hmm.
mean that you're selfish.
Yeah.
It means that you are just literally caring for yourself so
Hmm.
that you can be strong enough to take care of somebody else.
Hmm. I want to ask one other question, and I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna just see what she says.
We'll see.
So, what is one of your favorite dishes that mom used to cook?
Oh man, mom cooked a lot of different dishes. My absolute favorite would probably be a quiche.
Oh yeah.
Mom would
Oh
cook a
yes.
breakfast
Oh
quiche
my gosh. From
and
scratch.
from scratch. Now she did a
A
lot of
lot of cooking.
different cooking. Her specialties were pies. But my favorite is a quiche. Like inside that quiche would be eggs and bacon or ham and broccoli, just all kinds of different things that she would. I'm probably gonna do that this week. Girl, since now you done brought that up, but that was like the favorite thing was a quiche that she would cook. Oh, loved it. And she would cook like chocolate pies and things like that. I mean, she had all kinds of different things that she would cook, but that quiche.
So I thought you was actually gonna say chicken dobo.
Chicken dobo is like they like hand in hand.
They are hand in hand.
Chicken dobo.
I don't know that chicken dobo. Listen, nobody can do it like our mom.
Nobody. So. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Fair. Yeah, I'm there.
But yeah, nobody can do it like her.
Another one of my favorites actually also was her dressing.
Yes.
Her dressing was so good. And I think that she always made, especially like holidays, just so, for me at least, so memorable because of her cooking. Like it just felt like family. It felt home, just the smell of pies and cakes and, dressing and mac and cheese.
Okay, we're not going to keep talking about this because I'm hungry and I'm trying to,
listen, like trying to hold myself. Right. My God, Jesus. But yeah, like her cooking. And I think that that's something that you have definitely picked up. My sister has become a phenomenal cook. She cooked, 2 weeks ago? And let me tell y'all, let me put this in there. I brought my own.
She brought her own to-go boxes.
I brought my
own to-go.
I brought my lunch bowls. Okay, because I wasn't leaving. I wanted them to know I wasn't leaving empty-handed. See that? Sometimes you got to show up in expectation that you're gonna leave with something in return. You hear me? And that's exactly what I did.
And left us with nothing.
I didn't. Anyways, no, I didn't, guys. Anyways, but yeah, you have definitely picked up mom's cooking, and I'm getting there. Like that's the thing. So I've never had to cook like when I was younger because everybody else did it. And so now as a young woman, I have been exploring like, that cooking part of me. And I accredit that to, of course, my sister, my mom, because these are the people that often would cook around me and I would eat their food, of course. And so now I'm starting to pick up that grace from her. So I'm really excited about that. Y'all see sometimes when I'm posting food. So
yeah, just keep praying for her. Next.
Anyway, my food be good, y'all. Anyways, so that was funny. So I want to ask, so as many of you guys know, we lost our mom back in 2022. And a lot of people that we know have also lost parents. They've lost loved ones as well. And the grief, the journey that we've had to go through with grief definitely has not always been easy. But it is definitely something that we've been walking through day by day. My question for you, per se, is what has that journey been like for you? And what would you say to someone that may have lost their mother?
Yeah. I mean, the journey has been a journey.
A journey. Yeah.
And it has not been easy because, when you lose somebody that is so close to you. I mean, this was our mother. This is the person who birthed us, who raised us, who has been there through it all, it is difficult, and grief comes in all types of stages. Grief hits you when you're at work. Yes. It hits you when you're washing dishes. It hits you when you're driving down, the street. It hits you out of nowhere. And, it has truly been ups and downs and tears and laughs and, just full of memories and just things that sometimes can remind you of her. Like, it could be a smell, or it could be, something on TV, or it could be just something, in the house, or like through my grandbaby. My grandbaby, she reminds me so much of my mom. Like the other day, she told you to be nice.
Be nice. And that's something my mom would
That's something
actually
our mom would say,
to me.
Elizabeth, be
Be
nice.
nice.
So
Because she knows me.
it's just right. And it's just so many things that remind me of her. Which is it's happy, it is joyful to know that even though she's gone, that God has given us memory.
Absolutely.
He's
Yeah.
given us the opportunity to still hold her in our hearts and remember her. And so, like I said, it's been a roller coaster because, we've lost her and I miss her. And it's gonna take time. It's nothing that will ever get over. A lot of people think that who have not lost someone so close, they don't really understand. And it's not something that you get over. It's something that gets easier. And it's still a process.
Yeah.
Even though it's been almost 3 years
Almost 3 years.
since he's been gone, it has truly it's been a process for me. And I think the hardest thing for me is the fact that she passed on my birthday.
Yes.
So I'm getting to that place where I celebrate, my birthday, but it's still hard because all I could think about is her passing, on that day. But I also am glad that God kept her here, to be able to bring my birthday in. But it's a process. And we're still going through that process. We're still going through the highs and the lows and the tears, at the sink or, driving down the road or even at work. So I say to the individual who may have lost their mother, or their mother is in transition, or lost a parent or, a loved one that is just really close, is that it is a process.
It is
and
a
give
process.
yourself grace.
Yes.
Because like I said, grief will hit you in many different ways.
Yes.
It'll hit you when you least expect it. You may be having a good day and then all of a sudden you start thinking about that person, or like I said, something reminds you of that person and you just tear up. And it's okay. It's okay to cry. Give yourself that space to cry, um, because we're humans.
Absolutely.
God has given us tears, He's given us emotions. And so it's okay. Don't feel like you have to process everything in 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. It could take years for you to process. And I know it's like we said, it's been almost 3 years and I'm still processing, the passing and the transition of our mother.
That is absolutely, my sentiments as well. You have to have grace for yourself and for the journey, because the truth of the matter is when you have lost a loved one, or when you are going through a transitional phase of grieving in life in general, the reality is that as you are letting go of something, you're also stepping into something new, meaning this part of your journey or like your life is something you've never been through before. Even if you've actually experienced death with another individual or a similar situation, it wasn't with that person in that time. So, for me, I had to learn, and I am learning that even though our mother passed away, a new version of me, a new version of you, like has evolved, and we are being introduced to that person, that person that is blooming beyond grief. Like, you are growing beyond this, you are developing beyond this, and you have to give yourself grace to, number one, grieve what you had to let go of, and also welcome what you do not know. And so, like, for me, that's what I'm learning. Like, I'm not the same person or the same woman that I was before my mother passed. And what that looks like for us is we've had to reintroduce ourselves, to ourselves, to each other, to people around us. Because sometimes when you are dealing with loss, people expect for you to show up the same way that you were before that person passed away, when in reality, that may not be true. But yeah, giving yourself grace, giving yourself the ability to grow and evolve and have the self-care. And you know what I'm saying? Like just that
Mhm.
moment of just, you know, being, and allowing for the grief to come and having a plan when the grief comes. As in,
Mhm.
if I'm going to, if grief is hitting me, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna do what I need to do, but I'm also not going to allow for it to like just keep me stuck there. Because I
Mhm.
feel like that's almost what happened with me when like mom first passed away. And like I knew, like I just, because there was a lot of other things going on too in both of our lives. But at that moment, like maybe the week after, I just felt like I wanted to die. Like, okay, well, my mama gone, and I literally felt like the grip of death, like just, on me because I'm like, there's nothing to live for. Everything that I felt like was important, had already, just hit me like a ton of bricks. And so, um, my advice in this as well is just giving yourself grace, allowing that, and also knowing that there is more on the other side of this. So your journey is not over. This is just a chapter. Like, yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah. um you talked about it being mom's birthday or your birthday and mom's transitioning, and I remember that the day before you had asked mom if she was going to bring in the birthday with you or sing happy birthday with you.
Mhm.
And what was her response to you?
I mean, I think her response was, the family's gonna, help me sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
And I think at that time I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, at that time I'm thinking like, okay, you're gonna be here and you're gonna
Hmm.
sing happy birthday and you're gonna be all right. You're not
Hmm.
transitioning. Like I was not thinking like, oh, she's gonna transition on my birthday. I was thinking like she gonna be here, she gonna be all right. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um, but yeah, her response was the family's gonna help me. And so I'm like, okay, it's cool. Mama gonna be here like she been here for all my other birthdays,
Hmm.
but I wasn't thinking I was thinking that she was going to be here beyond that as well.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And, sometimes in the transition process, in the journey, it's you don't really prepare for it.
Yeah.
You can't really prepare for it because when you love somebody so much, your hopes is that they would just be here.
Hmm.
Our hopes is that she would just be here always. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
But we know as believers that this earth is not our home. Heaven is our
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that, mom knew. And getting down to those last couple of days, she knew like she was
Hmm.
transitioning, and that's when
She
she
was
started singing all kinds of
singing songs,
some
worshiping.
hymns.
Yeah.
One song that sticks out that she was singing was You Gotta Treat Everybody Right. You
Hmm.
better treat everybody right. Or I can't remember exactly how that
Hmm.
song goes, but that just kind of stuck with me because as we go through life, as I go through life, is do the best that I can to treat everybody right,
Hmm.
to love everybody, to respect everybody, and that was just one thing that she just kept saying, I'm gonna treat everybody right,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, that is definitely a good memory of, her singing songs and, just up until her last breath, even when she wasn't able to say anything, but just having that time to spend with the Lord in her moment of transition. And even with the response that she gave you, that she would be, the family would help her sing happy birthday to you. I think that that day, even though we all were deeply sorrowful, we also were rejoicing because number one, we knew where mom was, but number two,
mhm.
um, it was a very special moment that we were able to share with one another because once she took her last breath, the room went silent and in walks our brother with the birthday cake, and we all sang happy birthday to her. And I think that that is probably one of the most special um, gifts because to me, what it looked like was my mother passing on the torch to my sister to be able to uphold, even though my sister has been the mother for years, just be out here mamaing everybody. But I felt like she was releasing her grace to my sister, and my sister has been able to carry it well. A lot of people don't know that my sister was actually the one that was making sure that everything was okay with, our mom, and she's just really held down everything. And I think that, just that moment was really, really special. So, um, what is one thing that you would say to anyone right now that um is a mom who is trying to connect with their children, or just in general? I guess the question would be, what would you say to mothers right now? Because this is Mother's Day. Um, you know, there are mothers out there. I'm not one yet, like I said, but I will be one day. What would you say to mothers out there as it pertains to motherhood and mothering their children?
I would say because mothering it's not easy. Um, but what I would say is never give up.
Mhm.
No matter how um, my mom and I we had some tough times.
The
We've
worst of
had
times
we've had
and the best of times.
some tough conversations. Um, but we've also had some wonderful times as well. There are going to be moments, in your life where you just want to say, you know what, I'm giving up. But our mother, she never gave up. There were times where she stepped back. And there are going to be moments in your life that you may just have to step back and let those young adult children figure it out, you know, but also continue to pour into them, even when you feel like they're not listening.
Mhm.
Continue to give them the advice. Our mom always gave
Yeah.
advice,
And prayed over us and
she prayed over us,
mhm.
gave us advice, whether it was from what to wear, what to cook, what to take out, for dinner, what to put in the crock pot, what type of service to have, what type of program. She always was full of advice, full of ideas, and so, that's what I say to mothers is it may seem like it's going in one ear and out the other. But I guarantee you that your children, they hear you.
Yes.
And those words of wisdom that you're giving to them, it will come back.
Absolutely.
It will come back and they will be reminded of what you said. So never feel like you have to go silent. Never feel like you can't give wisdom to your children. Give them the words of wisdom because it's going to come back to them. It may seem like it's going up on the shelf somewhere, but eventually it will come back. And give yourself grace because we're not perfect. But we're doing the absolute best that we can.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage you to say you're doing absolutely the best that you can. And the words that you're giving your children right now, it may not seem they're hearing you, but it will definitely come back to them.
That's good. One thing that I want to add, not just to mothers, but just people in general that still have their mother. One thing that my sister told me, we were just conversing in the last few, months of our mother's life being here on earth, and we were having a conversation, and she said, "Just be a daughter. If you still have your mother." Whether you are a male or female, just be a daughter, be a son. And like, you've mentioned before, we don't know, when the person's last day on this earth is going to be. And just as our mom was singing, treat everybody right. yes, that is true. But if you have parents that are alive, and you know that there have been things that may be off or, just some disagreements within, your relationship, make it right because there's nothing like seeing someone that's 6 feet under, 8 feet under, however deep under, and you can't make it right anymore. And
Mhm.
that's one thing that I'm so appreciative of that the Lord allowed for me to move back home to, just spend the time that I was able to with my mom, to love on her, but also for her to love on me and for there to be deep healing within my heart from situations that occurred even in childhood. And so what I would say to those that are out there that have parents still is to love on your parents, be the daughter, be the son that you can be. Because, like I said, you don't know when their last day will be on this earth, and you don't want it to be that you could have made it right when you didn't. So,
Mhm.
or you could have spent time and you didn't. You could have loved on them and you didn't. And so, that is definitely, definitely important. Okay, so the last question is going to be, what is one thing that you would tell someone that may be grieving the loss of a loved one or they are currently experiencing the transitional phase with a loved one right now?
I mean, grief, like I said before, comes in stages. So you've got to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself time. It's never going to, losing someone is that pain will probably never go away, but it will get easier over time. So I would just say, give yourself some time. If
Mhm.
your parent, your mother, is in the process of transitioning, even though they may be in the process, be present. Be present in the moment, because those are moments that you can never get back.
Yeah,
So when our mom was in the process of transitioning, we were present. We were there.
we were there.
Even
Yeah.
though she may not have been able to, um, talk to us as much or do the things that we were used to her doing. But knowing that we were present, is fulfilling.
Hmm.
And it just makes me, um, feel even blessed and to be able to have been there. It makes me feel like we honored her all the way through. And so just be
Hmm.
present. And sometimes presence does not mean trying to have a full-blown conversation,
Hmm.
but basically just being there
Yeah.
because individuals who are in, some who are in transition may not be able to speak,
Yeah.
may not be able to see you, may not
Hmm.
be able to hold your hand, but they're still here.
Yeah.
So be present in the moment, and count it as a blessing. And that God, and just know that God is going to have you.
Hmm.
He's got you. It's going to be hard. Um, and going through this process is it's not going to be easy, but God has you. He's got you. Just
Hmm.
hold on to him.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. This has definitely been a really good conversation. And one, I want to thank everybody that has, number one, supported us through this journey. Many of our mother's friends have been so just supportive, checking in, making sure we're okay. And they have
Mhm.
been very consistent. Whether we're out doing speaking engagements or, just out at the grocery store, they have been there, whatever we need. And so we want to say thank you to family friends that have supported us, even while she was here, that have supported our mother.
Mhm.
It takes a village, not just for children, but just in every aspect for anybody. It takes a village. And as we are coming together as a community, that's what what matters the most. And so we want to say thank you. And thank you guys so much for joining this episode. We hope and pray that something was said that was beneficial, that, touched your heart. Definitely put in the comments if there's something that you resonated with, or if you are currently going through grief or loss, or if you have, if you're a mom and you may have questions about, just different things that you're dealing with your children. We want to hear from you. And so feel free to put it in the comments. What is one way that people can connect with you?
I'm on Facebook. My name is Ciara Harden. That is Harden EN. And so you can follow me on Facebook. And then also on YouTube, you can find by searching I Dare You podcast. You can find me on YouTube as well. So follow me on Facebook.
Yes, 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 yes. So definitely follow my sister. Again, thank you guys so much for joining this episode of Made for More. And as our motto is, where we are exploring the you beyond the box. As a mother, you have been made for more. So don't ever forget that. Don't forever forget the fact that God has graced you, not just to be a mom, but to pursue the purpose, everything that He has put in you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Made for More. We appreciate you being a part of this journey. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, remember, you've been made for more.